morning and you're watching The Big Story with me, Avni Raja. Let's start with the headlines. After fuel, LPG and tomatoes, onions making India cry. Prices climbed to almost 80 rupees a kilo in the national capital, working out to about 10 rupees per onion. Ahmednagar court pronounces death penalty for the 3 convicts in the Kopardi rape case who gang raped and murdered a minor in Maharashtra in 2016. Maggi fails food tests again after high content of ash allegedly found in food samples. UP government slaps 45 lakh fine on Nestle, but company maintains Maggi is 100% safe for consumption. Shocker from Tamil Nadu. Government school headmistress forces students to clean toilets in absence of the janitor. Shocking case of animal cruelty coming from Karnataka's Devangiri district. 150 stray dogs poisoned to death and buried. Gram Panchayat accused of carrying out the heinous crime. Worsening the tension between US and North Korea, the latter launches an intercontinental ballistic missile which boasts of having the capability to hit any target anywhere in the world. And a befitting tribute to Master Blaster, BCCI has decided to unofficially retire his number 10 jersey for international matches which Sachin used to wear. Now, after fuel, eggs and tomatoes, onion prices make India cry. Retail price of onions touched nearly 80 rupees in the national capital. Mirna found out with no checks on hoarders, the supply chain has been severely hit. Meanwhile, the centre has asked state-owned MMTC to import as much as 2,000 tons of onion and directed NAFED and SFAC to source 12,000 tons locally to help to boost supplies.
It's more than, definitely it's increased by 30-40%. So you can imagine your budget, you can't, the budget has, gone haywire. What to say?
It is very difficult. It has become, the budget is totally out for the common man. It doesn't make much difference for the upper middle class, but it is very difficult for the lower middle class.
ये पीछे थोड़ी प्रॉब्लम इस मारे थी क्योंकि ये जो कोहरा वगैरह हुआ था और बाहर की गाड़ियों ने हड़ताल कर दी थी, यहाँ तक माल नहीं पहुँच रहा था, इसलिए माल महंगा है और कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। अब माल ज़्यादा आ रहा है, मार्केट में वही भाव बिक रहा है जो पहले बिक रहा था। 30 रुपये से लेकर 40 रुपये तक के रेट आज भी हैं प्याज के।
All right, joining me on the phone line is Apurva, who's been tracking this and speaking to a lot of vendors and customers as well. Apurva, help us understand what the reason really is as far as the rising prices are concerned.
Well, first and foremost, there has been a demand-supply deficit, which is something that even the central government has acknowledged and is addressing at this given point in time. The fact that onions and tomatoes, which are essential commodities for every household, that is in scarcity because there has not been a lot of supply from neighboring states, which includes Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Haryana. Now, these are the states where essentially onions and tomatoes are being got to the national capital, and that entire supply has been less this season, and that is the reason why there has been a spike in the prices. Apart from that, because of unseasonal rainfall in many such areas which are important for the import of vegetables to the national capital, that has also seen some that has also gone topsy-turvy at this point because even the supply there has been hit. Apart from that, there are also vendors who are saying that there are certain areas where there are black marketing and hoarding that is preventing them to sell it further, leading to increased price. Now, these are some of the reasons that have come out. But more importantly, the fact that even Centre now has taken note of it, it has asked the state-owned MMTC, which is the Metals and Material Trading Corporation of India, to now float the global tender to import onions, and that they feel could bridge the deficit to control the price. Apart from that, the Centre has also asked two agencies, which is NAFED and the SFAC, to procure at least 12,000 tons of onion from domestic farmers, and this they feel could perhaps bridge that widening gap of demand and supply. So they feel today we heard Ramvilas Paswan also held a press conference where he also reiterated concerns, and he said that yes, this is something that the centre and the state are collectively looking at, and this is a responsibility of both centre and the state government. So it is to be seen what other measures are really taken by the centre and how soon can the consumers really have or get some kind of a relief from the soaring prices of onions and tomatoes.
Apurva, as far as other measures, of course, you said that they've looked to some way to bridge the gap at this point as a stopgap measure. But on the broader front, as far as looking at issues like illegal hoarding and better storage facilities, any words coming in from the centre on those angles?
As of now, no, we haven't heard the centre really come up with so many concrete measures as to how to stop black marketing and hoarding and the entire issue of lack of storage. But right now, the concern has been to bridge that deficit, which is why they have asked the state-owned MMTC to float global tender for import of onions, because this they feel could essentially bridge that gap. But at this given point in time, no other word they're coming in on what are the other measures. But also another very important point to note here, Avni, is the fact that this global tender is also going to close on 8th of December, which means for the next 1 month, essentially there is not going to be much of a difference as such in terms of prices of onions, because the import will only start happening from 1st January 2018. So clearly this seems to be a stopgap measure, as you pointed out. Perhaps if these measures were taken prior to the expected price hike that happens every year because of winters, because a lot of products perish, and because of this shortage of demand and supply, perhaps these decisions, if it was taken earlier, this could have ideally bridged that gap, and it wouldn't have been this problematic for the consumers here. And it is not just the consumers that we're looking at. Even the roadside vendors, Avni, who sell these chaats, omelets, boiled egg, and many other such delicacies in Delhi are also reeling under severe crisis because they have stopped using onions and tomatoes in their delicacies, citing price hikes, saying that they cannot really afford so much of payment for onions, and that is precisely why they have now either stopped or have started using onions quantity in a very, very meager amount.
Stay with us. We're also being joined by Disha Shah who's joining us from Ahmedabad in Gujarat, really to give us a sense of what the situation is like there. Disha, help us understand or give us a sense as far as prices are concerned over there.
Certainly, Avni, you're also in Ahmedabad in Gujarat. This scenario is not really different, like what the Apurva from Delhi was also mentioning about how the price of tomatoes and onions have significantly gone up. And here, when we also did a ground check, a market check from one of the biggest vegetable market in Ahmedabad here in Avni, definitely the prices of tomatoes and onions have gone over by 50% is what we understand. And this is the only reason that there's a shortage of supply, and owing to this there has been an increase in onions as well as tomatoes. But here we are not only talking about these two vegetables, but there are other commodities, other vegetables as well, like the ladyfinger and even cauliflower for that matter, carrot for that matter. All of these vegetables have significantly gone up. The prices have significantly gone up, and this is the reason what the vendors, when we spoke to, they told us is that the only thing is due to the shortage of supply, and there has been, the customers are really not showing up to buy either tomatoes or onions, which even Apurva pointed out that these are the daily necessities and the daily ingredients in everyday's life. So when we also spoke to customers who were coming to shop, they say that they have completely stopped buying tomatoes and even onions for that matter, because it is absolutely next to not being affordable, because earlier, just before 20 days back, and even last week, the price of 1 kg of tomato was only 40 rupees, and now it has gone up to rupees 60 per kg. So this is something that the customers say is not really affordable if they have to use it on a daily basis.
As far as the sellers, the retailers are concerned, what are they saying? When do they expect prices to sort of come back to fall again?
So when we spoke to the retailers, Avni, what they tell us is that coming back to normalcy is going to take a lot of time. At least 4 weeks from now is what they say, considering currently the situation, what is going on. But they say that not only, but on the other side, they say that few of the vegetables, the prices have gone down as well. If we talk about brinjal, if we talk about cabbage also for that matter, all of the other vegetables prices have gone down by over 20 rupees and even 10 rupees when it comes to half kg. So there is really every day the price keeps on changing is what the retailers tell us, and that is also making customers confused is what they tell us when we spoke to them there when we visited the market. So they say that anytime soon, because this has been happening over a month now, and they say that there is really a shortage of supply when it comes to tomatoes and onions and even few other vegetables which prices have gone up significantly. So they say at least a month from now there will be this will take a time at least where the situation will come back to normalcy.
All right, Disha, that's as far as Ahmedabad is concerned, where Disha is saying the retailers there say it will take at least a month more for prices to stabilize and come down again. But it's not just Delhi or Ahmedabad. Across India, the vegetable prices continue to soar. Richa Sharma gets us this report from Maharashtra's Ahmednagar.
I am currently standing in the Supa village here in Ahmednagar in a Sabzi Mandi market, and today being one of the major days, today being Wednesday, one of the major days for the farmers as well as the retailers here to sell their commodities, and we spoke to a number of these farmers as well as the retailers here, and what they are stating is that the prices of most of the vegetables, the average price of most of these vegetables, be it tomatoes, onions, capsicum or brinjal, it's about 40 to 50 rupees a kilo, and this will go on for about a month, more than a month now. And the reason that they are stating is that the supply of vegetables that reaches the market is extremely low and it is not able to match the demand that the people's requirement is. सर टमाटर क्या भाव में बेच रहे हैं आप?
50 रुपए।
क्या कारण है बढ़ने का इतना?
ये माल ही नहीं आ रहा मार्केट में अभी।
बिल्कुल माल नहीं आ रहा।
माल कम आ रहा।
कब क्यों, क्या बारिश की वजह से?
बारिश की वजह से।
और कब तक जारी रहेगा सर ये?
1 महीना।
और 1 महीना?
1 महीना।
ग्राहक खरीद रहे हैं, कम खरीद रहे हैं?
कम खरीद रहे।
अभी क्या भाव चल रहा है सर सब्जी का?
सब्जी का भी सब 20 रुपए किलो चल रहा है।
सर यहाँ पे शिमला में 40 और 50-60 में भी बिक रहा है।
अभी वो इधर का उधर का भाव रहता है ना, बारिश की वजह से इधर से उधर से होता है वो कम ज़्यादा।
क्या कारण से इधर अभी महंगा हो गया है भाजी?
इधर महंगा भाजी बारिश की वजह से होता है, ज़्यादा हो गया बारिश तो पानी फल कम आता है।
कांदा क्या भाव बिक रहा है?
अभी इधर 40 रुपए केजी है।
और ये
फूल गोभी 20 रुपए केजी।
अच्छा, और अच्छा टमाटर अगर खरीदेंगे तो कितने का?
60 रुपए केजी आता है।
अभी क्या भाव चल रहा है सर सब्जी का?
सब्जी का भी सब 20 रुपए किलो चल रहा है।
सर यहाँ पे शिमला में 40 और 50-60 में भी बिक रहा है।
अभी वो इधर का उधर का भाव रहता है ना।
All right, and our correspondent Arvind Singh spoke to shopkeepers and customers in Jaipur. Listen in.
अभी मंडी में सब्जी में तेजी है, क्योंकि जो टमाटर नासिक से आता था वो अब की बार कम आ रहा है, और अपने यहाँ लोकल कम है, तो लोकल कम होने की वजह से टमाटर में बहुत तेजी है। थोक भाव में टमाटर बिक रहा है 50 रुपये किलो, 45 रुपये किलो, और खुला बिक रहा है 60-70 रुपये किलो। और जो सीजन है, सीजन वाली सब्जी है, वो भी करीब करीब अब की बार तेज है। जैसे पत्ता गोभी है, फूल गोभी है, तो फूल गोभी पत्ता गोभी इस टाइम खूब आती है भरपूर, लेकिन अब की बार आवक कम होने की वजह से सब्जियों में भाव में तेजी है।
All right, now joining me on the phone line is Sanjay Jha of the Congress. Thank you very much, Mr. Jha, for joining in. What is your sense of the comments that we heard from the food minister saying that they don't have a magic wand, but they are taking, taking note of the rising prices?
Well, I think that's basically a public admission of their helplessness, and more important, it's also a manifestation of their incompetence. I mean, can you imagine that India has been a huge beneficiary of low oil prices for such a long time? I mean, last year you even had good monsoons. Even this year there have been decent monsoons. I mean, there is absolutely no excuse whatsoever for Mr. Modi's government or any state government to allow prices of essential commodities to rise. I mean, you have a situation today where I think whether you talk of onions, which brings tears into people's eyes now, is largely on account of the fact that there has been no investment or no incentive given to, shall we say, give a boost to agricultural production, more important, to improve distribution, and last but not the least, to back the farming community. Now, what has happened is that as a result, you'll find that as and when there is a shortage, the prices are going to hit through the roof. You're not going to find a graduated increase in price. There will be a skyrocketing rise in price. It will just go vertical. And I think for the government of the day to pretend that they're going to fix it and they're looking into it, I mean, please ignore all this red tape and the usual, kind of sound bites which are given by politicians. The truth is this government is proving to be terribly ill-equipped, and you're finding these sporadic rises happening in prices from time to time. I mean, I can tell you for a fact that end of day, there is a massive need in India to boost production, to support the farmers, and at the same time to ensure that distribution and transportation is efficient. Now, what you're witnessing today is an overall inefficiency in the system. The farmers have been neglected. I think we debate that on your channel very often. But very critically, whether it's cold storage, distribution, it's virtually, crumbling down. And last but not least is I think the whole corruption done through hoarders and, the big wholesalers, that has accentuated it. And the immediate trigger, of course, is a lack of cash in the system. I mean, today, for example, there is the impact created by demonetization has somewhere disrupted the informal economy. So all these are going to create pressure points on essential commodities, which is why you'll find that vegetables, pulses, all these essential commodities are going to see sharp rise in dips depending upon where we are on the economic flow chart.
Mr. Jha, the fact is that as much as 14,000 tons have been, as a stopgap arrangement have been asked to be imported now of onions specifically. And this is onions. Before this, we saw it was eggs. Before that, it was tomatoes. Before that, it was fuel. So it seems to be one thing after another.
And I'll tell you something. I'm glad you're asking that because the government's trade policy has been even worse. I mean, importing at the wrong time hurts your domestic production, right? I mean, end of day, why? And, they basically have been importing at zero tariff duties. I mean, basically this government is, totally ad hoc, very knee-jerk, and they panic. And I think the whole obsession with the fact that end of day, they did not want to create an MSP environment which was promised by Narendra Modi in his 2014 campaign. They reneged on that promise. The result is today, and I can tell you that farmers are so aggrieved that many of them don't know what to produce because in everything they have produced, they are suffering losses. So you'll find that many of the pattern of production is changing. For example, on GST, I'll give an example. Because there is the branded items have become more expensive, many of them are moving away from branded items to avoid GST. So, there is a lot of, at the moment, shall we say, a state of flux in India's rural farming community. And all of this will impact prices down the line. The government is totally knee-jerk. It doesn't have a vision. And its only escape route is to say, you know what, agriculture is a state subject. How can we comment on it? But the truth is, my dear Mr. Modi and team, whatever, when they do any work in Delhi, but I think all of them are only spending time campaigning, is you don't have any coherent, credible policy for the farming community. And today, the average consumer of these products from rural, middle class, and all of us are going to pay the price.
Mr. Jha, stay on with us. We've also got Zafar Islam from the BJP on the line with us. Mr. Islam, thank you for joining us. What is your response to the fact that the kind of price rise that we're seeing in onions at this point?
See, if you see, during this period, the prices definitely has gone up marginally, not only this year, but every other year because of the Kharif crop comes little later. And as you go in December, from second week of December, the prices will come off. Historically, you have seen that the prices, because the new crop will keep coming, and then you will see the prices coming off. That is the pattern we have seen all along. But as far as government is concerned, government is putting its sincere effort to ensure that the prices does not shoot up and the prices should come down, and whatever the measures needs to be taken by the government, by the state and the central government.
What are those measures? So if you can elaborate for us, what are the measures that the government is taking to ensure that prices don't shoot up?
It's both short-term and long-term. Short-term, of course, to ensure that the supply side, you have the supply chain works efficiently and then enough supply, and there is no scarcity of onion and tomato and all the other vegetables, which is on a seasonal item. But on a long-term basis, of course, there are two ways with which it can be ensured that the prices remain stable. Is the cold storage, the dehydrated process of dehydration, with that plant should be there for the process of dehydration. Now, those mechanisms is also being worked out. That so many efforts have already gone in this aspect. But of course, this should have been done long back by the Congress government, but they have not done in terms of the rural infrastructure. They haven't developed, and all this thing is being done by the current government. Of course, it does take time to create infrastructure, but going forward, of course, you will see that prices will remain stable in the country of vegetable prices, because government is focusing on rural infrastructure, also setting up cold storage, food processing center, and of course the center for dehydration of the onion as well.
Right. Mr. Jha, coming back to you, would you like to respond to that? The fact that, first of all, the measures that was being talked about here by Mr. Islam as far as short-term and long-term measures, and also the fact that it's left up to the current government and it's something should have been done by the past government as well.
You know, I'm just wondering, this 4 years of Narendra Modi's incompetent government, they're still going to talk about what happened during the times of UPA. You see, basically, they are publicly admitting they can't run this country. They should give up. They should, if they're complaining about Mr. Dr. Manmohan Singh's government, they're soon going to complain about Vajpayee's government. They should quit. They're not capable of running this country. And I'll give you what a brazen lie the BJP spokesperson is saying. The UPA brought in the FDI and multi-brand retail, which was meant to actually give the farm to fork model, a real boost to farm production, transportation, distribution, logistics, cold storage, and finally for the consumer. The BJP opposed it. Now they are saying, now they have opposed it all these years, okay? And now I'm hearing him say, you know what, the Congress didn't do anything. I mean, how much of lies can you speak? I mean, I'm appalled and aghast as to how much of fake news, brazen lies. I mean, don't they have any respect for the anchors, for their opponents, and for the viewers and the people who are listening to the program? I mean, people can see through it. The people of India are intelligent. You can't fool them all the time. So I think, this is a shame. This government cannot run. I am telling you, Mr. Modi's government is probably the worst that India has ever seen. And I think the right...
I'm going to interrupt you there. I'm going to go back to Mr. Islam. Mr. Islam, the fact that, it's been 4 years now and you're still talking about the fact that this is a regular thing that happens as far as the price rises are concerned. Why hasn't something more concrete been done until now? Why haven't issues like illegal hoarding been addressed and better distribution?
See, Mr. Jha, very conveniently, talking about 4 years, but he's not talking about the last 16 years, which they have not done anything.
But that's not the point. The point is that past is in the past. Let's talk about the last 4 years since you've had the opportunity to do something about it.
That's what I'm saying, that he is very conveniently talking about us and not talking about what they have not delivered. And this infrastructure, creating infrastructure does not happen overnight. It does take time, because if you put up a project, you create a rural infrastructure, it does take time. And that is happening. What is more important for you to realize that in terms of the allocation for the rural infrastructure in the budget, you can see that large allocation has been made for rural infrastructure. And the focus on supply management, logistics, how the logistics work if there is no road. So that road is being built by this government. Then the cold storage, there's no cold storage. They have not done any backward integration and even forward integration.
But Mr. Islam, they have not done, which is fine. But what are you doing to, solve those issues?
That is what I'm saying. That what is more important for you to realize that for any vegetables or fruit which has a seasonality, which gets because of season, which also because of which has a limited shelf life, they need to have a backward integration and forward integration to ensure the process. In the process, the supply chain works better, and also when the shelf life 7 days, it can be elongated because of setting up food processing unit and all. So those things are being done by the current government, and you will see the result. But it cannot; those infrastructure cannot be developed overnight. And in last 3-4 years, we have done many cold storage has come. We have got new projects for dehydration of onions to ensure that its shelf life can be elongated. And we are also putting up a food processing unit. But of course, you will see going forward, as I said, these are investment and creating infrastructure will provide positive results going forward. Because the investments have been made by the current government.
Right. All right. Thank you very much, Zafar Islam and Sanjay Jha, for joining us. We'll have to leave it there. But of course, as far as this issue of Mehengai is concerned, it seems to be just increasing. We've seen one thing after the other, whether it was fuel, eggs, tomatoes, and now onions. We'll have to, of course, wait and see as to when these prices actually stabilize and what are the concrete measures, long-term measures, and not just stopgap measures that the government actually takes. On that note, that's a wrap on this edition of The Big Story. Thanks for watching. Keep watching Mirror Now.